Fox
to.
Sports trending.
No, and then
YouTube.
Yeah, then
Cleveland Browns first round.
both of those
pick this year,
interviews
Myles
are
Garrett missing in action for week
just
1
like
when the Browns
Q&A
take on the
from me and like Jeff
About
chimes
Cam
in.
and Wolford.
Yeah. So it'll be better.
Yeah, I
than,
got them ready to go. Yeah, one is 4 minutes, one's 3.5.
Yeah, we'll probably
Housekeeping got his contract
play.
dispute with the Raiders. Lowered
Probably
his salary
play
by
at
$1
least
million
one of them in the
this season.
second
Jaguars
segment.
Leonard Fournette.
All right.
So okay.
So he's ready to go. In Atlanta, Falcons center Alex Mack redid his contract. $1 million base salary and now has turned into a signing bonus, saving the club just over $750,000 in cap space. New York Post is reporting that Odell Beckham won't rule out playing week 1 despite the bad ankle. For a complete scoreboard and breaking news, we're online. Hit us up, foxsports.com. I'm David Gapp.
All right, he just sent you Doug Thornton's number.
It's his office number.
All right. 4 minutes.
Cool.
He
is
wanted it in
extending
his
its
office.
Labor Day sale through Tuesday, and all mattresses are still on sale, like Hampton and Rhodes Queen
That happens to
mattresses
me every
starting
time
at
I try and type.
$99.99.
And that's 504, so it's a local number. Ignore the 594 area code. That's not right.
Plus,
587.
through Tuesday, get a free
They
adjustable
might get
base
it
with
separate.
select purchases, only at Mattress Firm. For offer details, visit mattressfirm.com.
And I figured,
Product offers and
And I
prices
figured we
vary by
ask him
state.
about how real of a possibility was maybe having Tampa,
Right.
Dolphins,
Yeah, we asked him about the
LSU,
renovation.
BYU, and then U.S. Bank Stadium, and
Right.
whatever else you want to ask.
Yeah.
Picture Times Square.
we'll
Dim,
do-
Las Vegas dark. Your whole black. Picture no electric light.
NFL pick.
Come on.
11:30.
Optimism. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at Values.com.
Sports 1280, New Orleans.
I mean, I'm just
Instant
going to the Saints
replay.
facility today,
Josh
basically to
Innes.
talk to
Afternoons
Breeze,
noon
and then I'm
until
leaving.
2.
I know, I was going to
They
say,
did
I'm not even
everything
going to
they
go
could
out,
to
but
get him a
Breeze
head
would be the only
job.
thing that would get
he
me out
said,
there.
Coach, I'm coming to LSU unless I get a head
You know?
job.
Yeah.
And I want a head job.
What did you want?
Are you Jim, this is why are you being so perverse? Like this, I'm not even attempting to be perverse.
Well, I'm just going to get it
This is-
just to
and
have
this
the
is
audio
direction you're
file, just because
taking.
it's easier for
I'm assuming they did
us to
everything
deal
they
with
could
it.
to get him
As
a head
you know,
job.
'cause you
But
could
he was
send it right
honest
to
with us.
Dave
He said,
and
Coach,
chop it
I'm coming to
immediately as
LSU
opposed to
unless I get a
recording it
head
in real
job,
time.
and I
Should
want
we
a
try to
head
get Mike
job.
Zimmers?
Stop laughing.
Well, yeah,
I'm
we
just
should.
happy that we got
I mean, he's on the
Then
conference
we
call.
hear
I'm
about
sure they
Florida
recorded it.
Atlantic, and we didn't
I could
think he'd
reach out to
take
J-Mac.
But he
Yeah,
calls
let's
and
do
says,
that.
"Hey man, I'm coming."
We should
I've
just
got
have him
one
every
more
week.
meeting,
Hey, bud,
and I'm
just
just going
send
to
us
listen to
Yeah.
them. Ended
audio
up, he
every
took
day
the
if you
job.
can. He will.
job?
He said he was going to take the LSU job unless
We
he
had
gets
his
a head job, and he
Running
wanted a
guy
head
on, he
job.
better help us.
I mean, that's what we all strive for.
Hey, I'm running that.
I was thinking about that when I
Are
was
you?
getting my massage in Las Vegas.
How cool is this?
Listen live weekdays on Sports 1280 and the free
I mean, when we
iHeartRadio
put our
app.
minds to it, we can make some cool looking stuff. Yeah, that is great.
Asked and ye shall receive.
Dude, that's great.
All right.
iHeartRadio does something
Oh, and you
no
saw
other app
Jeremy's
or
got us
website
set
can
up.
do.
Oh,
Thousands
I
of
didn't see
live
that.
radio
Yeah, he
stations
sent us the
you can take
address.
anywhere.
Just said, hey, just let me know what
Listen to
time we
that
need.
station
I said
in Denver,
9:30.
but you're
We'll
in
probably
Philly,
get to
no
the studio.
problem. In Austin,
So we're set.
but you
Perfect.
miss Seattle, no problem. Plus, iHeartRadio lets
Even
you
though we're
create your own
doomed,
custom
as I said,
artist
to-
stations.
James from Metallica here.
Sent you that thing on
Just
iHeart.
type in the artist you love, and
Marcus told me
iHeartRadio
about that. I'm like,
creates a
what?
station
Just like,
just
oh,
for
bad
you.
news.
Free
Send me
radio
a
and
quote,
unlimited
thing from
music
the New York
all
Post.
in one app.
Oh,
iHeartRadio.
avoid bankruptcy.
Oh,
It's the second annual Wine on the River, presented by Southern Glazers, WGNO TV, ABC, and NOLA.38, the CW. Saturday, November 11th at the Audubon Aquarium Plaza. Tickets on sale now for only $49, and a limited number of VIP tickets for only $69. Enjoy wines from around the world, great food, and live entertainment. The second
All right, 1 minute.
is sell out. Buy your tickets today at wineontherivernola.com. Proceeds benefit the Louisiana Hospitality Foundation.
Intercom.
Intercom, community access.
Welcome to America Speaks by Zip, the polling app that lets you tell the nation what you think. Download the Zip app today. It's Thursday, September 7th. Mark Jacobs just created a watch you can take selfies with just the press of a button. Does anyone take pictures of scenery anymore? Maybe a sunset? I guess not. Well, what are your thoughts on this? 78% of men and women who were polled agree that this watch is just ridiculous. And Sandra Bullock donates $1 million to Hurricane Harvey relief efforts. When celebrities do things like this, does it make you like them more? 80% of women and 61% of men say yes, but the remaining people polled say doesn't make them change their views or thoughts on these celebs. And who deserves a bigger NFL contract, Brady or Stafford? As a Jets fan, it hurts me to say that 78% of people polled are on Team Brady. Finally, an app to create world peace, or maybe just prove your point. Now you can poll the masses by downloading Zip, the Question Answer app, in the App Store.
Dunc and Holder on a Thursday, September 7th. Here we're live at our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios. And Jeff, I could tell you, and you were in there yesterday, the Saints are about as giddy as I've seen in a while. It's game week. They're fired up. Everyone's in a great mood. Optimism everywhere. And I could just, you and me had a chance to catch up with Cam Jordan. We're going to play this probably in the next segment, and they are feeling legitimately confident going into this season, which you would expect an NFL team, but I think they feel like preseason they played well, and they could see this thing carrying over into week one, and what we all know is a vital matchup, Saints-Vikings Monday night. They know they've got to get this win because the people who have been on these teams understand you don't win week one, we've seen bad things happen.
Well, don't you think, we haven't talked about this on the show before, but they had a pretty distraction-free off-season and preseason. Yes, they had some injuries. Obviously, the Delvin Breaux and the situation with Oshner and the medical staff was something of a curveball. And the Terran Armstead injury hurt and Nick Fairley. But in the grand scheme of things, compared to, say, the Dallas Cowboys, who are navigating this Ezekiel Elliott landmine, the Saints have been distraction-free, and I think they really are flying under the radar now. We've had a lot of people on the program from national media outlets who I think have a different perspective on this team than you and I do because we're out there every day, and I think the Saints like their position of being kind of underrated for once. The expectations are low for this team. No one's talking about them, and I think they like that position.
Well, Jeff, I don't know if they've been distraction-free. I mean, you named some pretty significant distractions.
But every team has injuries. Every team.
Well, you also have you said the doctors. I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, but come on. Ezekiel Elliott, compare it to that.
Well, compared to Ezekiel Elliott, yeah, that's chaos. And, but look across the league. There are players, so many players suspended to start the season. Willie Snead's one of them. That kind of popped up out of seemingly nowhere. But it seems like the Saints have a good handle on that. And injuries, you navigate through the Nick Fairley injury where you sign a big contract and then all of a sudden he's out for the year and possibly out for forever with the heart thing. But I feel like the Saints have kind of navigated that. And with the defensive front, I think they're pretty solid up there. So you could see also the players they've got. They're going to be playing significant roles, and the ones that are rookies are playing significant roles, and they've shown that they can handle it, at least in the preseason and in OTAs and training camps. Now, when you get under the lights, I'm curious to see, but I think the Saints feel better about their player acquisitions and how they fit in already. It seems like it's much better than what we've seen maybe in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it. They've had I think, a very good offseason. Going all the way back to the coaching staff changes, those all seem to be positive. They haven't played a game yet. We'll see how it plays out. But the early returns on the coaching staff moves and some of the under-the-radar free agent moves, and A.J. Klein, for instance, Ted Ginn Jr., these pickups didn't move the needle nationally, but for this team, I think they're going to be very productive players in their roles. But compared to, say, the Los Angeles Chargers that are moving to a new city and have no real home yet, compared to, say, the Houston Texans that are dealing with Hurricane Harvey. What the Saints have had to go through pales in comparison to them, and they can focus on football by and large compared to some of these other organizations that are dealing with much bigger distractions. So I think they like their position, and I agree. I think they're very confident going to Minnesota.
And you mentioned A.J. Klein and Ted Ginn. Don't leave out my man Larry Warford. I think he might be the best one of them all. Well, A.J. Klein, because he's going to be the middle linebacker and he's going to be on the field every play. But Larry Warford also will be on the field every play. And I had a chance to catch up with Larry Warford yesterday in the locker room as well. So we're going to have some interviews with Cam Jordan. We'll probably play that one in the first hour. Larry Warford will play in the second hour. And we got a jam-packed show. You're in a Thursday, even though the Saints play Monday night. You're in game week. You're going to have, say, your first injury report out today for the Saints, so you'll know who's healthy and who's not. Look, yesterday Marcus Williams did speak with the media. He says he's fine. If he's fine, I would anticipate him starting over Von Bell, according to what we've seen in training camp and in the preseason. But if he's talking to the media, that's a good sign. Max Unger spoke with the media yesterday, and he's ramped up, ready to go. And so you could tell it's game week, and that just means lots of things to talk about. And we're going to do, in the 11 o'clock hour, our first NFL pick'ems. We're going to go against the spread, totally destined to go wrong. And Clyde is already predicting failure on his part. Since he thinks he's going to be the college football maven, he is going to be a failure in NFL picks.
I don't know about after last week. I don't have to think about anything. I mean, look at that record, man. But I'm telling you now, because I'm going to try to take as much fun out of it. I'm literally going to see if I can go 0 for this week, just so that you don't have any pleasure in telling me that I'm awful at this.
I think you should retire and just go out on top.
I also thought about that too.
With the championship belt.
I really did. We don't have a championship belt. Can we get one made?
Well, wait, now we need to get this straight real quick. I know we've got a steak dinner on the line.
Yeah, we do.
For colleges. Are we adding to this?
Who pays? The absolute loser pays?
Yes.
Can I just give you my card now, because I'm going to be the absolute loser?
You can start
in college
saving up,
picks.
because I mean I have a lot of places, and there's some places in the city I haven't gone to. So completely get ready, save up your money. It's going to be great. I can't wait to send you guys money.
Well, Jeff is the foodie, and so he's going to pick someplace. I'm sure nice.
I'll pick the food, but maybe we should have some kind of rounds of drinks on the NFL line.
That's a good call.
We'll kind of, that way you have a possibility to win the NFL bet, and we could put a big honking nice bottle of wine on Clyde's tab.
Well, if you get liquored up, I guess you go and then you sit down for dinner. You just don't care at that point, right? Is that the thought process?
For some of us,
we'll buy Clyde's steak, but then we'll get a nice bottle of Bordeaux.
Ooh.
Put that on Clyde's.
And see, I was going to say rosé. You fancy,
tab.
Jeff?
I was going to say Boone's Farm. So whatever we got going.
Natty Lights.
Exactly.
And we got Doug Thornton at 10:30. That's going to be an interesting conversation. He's been a very busy man lately, negotiating with the NRG Stadium folks that they run at SMG to get the Texas kickoff, the BYU LSU game over here. Also, he's in the middle of a renovation study of the Superdome. We'll talk to him about that. And we'll get a scouting report on US Bank Stadium, which also falls under the SMG umbrella. I think they manage every stadium in the world.
It seems that way.
It's crazy. Yeah. Doug actually was involved, just to show you how widespread SMG's umbrella falls and how many properties they manage. The terrorist attack in London was it Ariana Grande?
Ariana Grande, yes.
All right, okay, that was also one of their venues.
Wow.
And so he was having to deal was on conference calls with their security officials, dealing with that. So it just shows you how many things he's doing now in addition to running the Superdome.
Right, and I want to know how much conversation did they have about hosting another game, Tampa Bay and the Dolphins. We know that has been postponed to week 11, I'm pretty sure.
Yes,
because that was
correct.
their bye weeks. And Jeff, I know you're going to be writing a column on this later on in the week about just how people navigate hurricanes and this and that. And so it should be
should come out today.
Okay.
Yep.
It'll come out today.
Maybe a question for you guys to ask: with New Orleans hosting now the Texas kickoff, possibly hosting this NFL game, even though it didn't happen. Do these things kind of help the profile of New Orleans and trying to get another Super Bowl to come back to the city. They're hosting this big NCAA tournament at the arena this December, things like that. I mean, maybe ask him, hopefully, if anything, hopefully turning a better eye towards the city and hosting another Super Bowl down the line.
Yeah, for sure.
I think people understand that New Orleans is capable of this, but look, I think New Orleans, any storm, any way we can help as a city, and I'm sure Doug's the same way, we're going to try to bend over backwards to do. And but I'm curious because I know you reported, Jeff, that the Superdome was a possibility if they wanted to explore that option.
Yeah, it was on the contingency list. My column today basically touches on the fact that the NFL did the right thing. Canceling that game, postponing that game to Week 11 was the most logical, sensible, and least problematic decision for the league. Both of them happen to have the same bye week. It just makes perfect sense. Yes, they have to play 16 weeks in a row, but I talked to some players in the locker room yesterday about that concern. And look, it is a concern. Player safety is always a concern, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a minor issue compared to the calamity that could potentially be threatening the state of Florida right now. I mean, this is a monster of a storm, unprecedented, the largest recorded Atlantic storm in history. So it's just mind-boggling to me that people would even question that decision, even to try and play it at a neutral site when players on the Miami Dolphins are going to be so distracted thinking about their families or their homes. They're not going to be wanting to game plan for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's silly to think that. So that's my take on that whole issue, and I think of all people in New Orleans and certainly Houston should understand that.
And I'm also wondering, look, Jacksonville goes to Houston. Are the Jaguars going to be able to get home? I'm curious about that, too, because the storm could go right up through the state and hit Jacksonville. So that's potentially a third and fourth team because you're talking about Tampa Bay and Miami. You could be talking about Jacksonville, and Houston's already dealing with these. So you could have four teams in the NFL having to deal with unprecedented disasters and of no one's fault outside of Mother Nature. And so those are landmines that I don't think we've never seen anything like this affect so many teams all at once, and it's going to be a difficult thing to navigate.
It's why the University of Miami canceled their game or elected not to go and travel to Arkansas State on Saturday. That game was going to be played in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Obviously, for Arkansas State, that's a huge game. They hardly ever going to get a school like Miami to come in, and they tried every way possible to have Miami play that game. But you have to understand University of Miami's concerns. They're worried they're going to get stranded in Arkansas and not be able to get back into Miami. So they elected to not have any travel issues because of the concerns you're talking about. Getting away and not being able to get back in. It's mind-boggling to me that the Arkansas State athletic director would try and force their hand on that. He was not very understanding, in my opinion, when you saw his comments. It reminded me a lot of how tone-deaf Joe Oliva in LSU was last year with the University of Florida over Hurricane Matthew. When you're not in the middle of it, and we should understand these things, and Arkansas State's AD came across as completely tone-deaf.
Well, speaking of LSU, we will head up to Baton Rouge at the top of the 11 o'clock hour. Chris Dave, our LSU beat writer, covering all things LSU football, basketball, baseball, badminton, you name it. We'll talk with Chris Dave as some significant news about Arden Key. Seems like he is practicing outside of a non-contact jersey. The first time that happened yesterday. So we'll talk with Chris about that, and we'll get Chris's thoughts on if Ed Ogeron stole your cheetah defense line. I want to get to the bottom of that.
I think he definitely stole it. The timing is
thief.
Well, I don't know if he stole it. I think he's honoring me with my brilliance.
Well, why didn't he say Jeff Duncan's cheetah defense?
He's honoring me. I don't need that. I know. We all know. Wink, wink, nod, nod. We know where it came from.
I don't know that either.
I definitely know.
Have no idea.
Oh, so he just pulled the name cheetah out of thin air. What's the chances of that?
Maybe he's thinking of the adult establishment in Atlanta.
Maybe he was watching the Cheetah Girls with his kids. I don't know.
The defense is so good that they get to Atlanta where the SEC title game is, and he's just thinking, man, we're going to be hopping like the cheetah. Not the case?
No. Matter of fact, at the game Saturday, I'm going to find him afterward and ask him. I guarantee you. I'm going to get him on record. I'm going to get him on.
So you're going to go to the Chattanooga game. You're not going to care if Miles Brennan gets in and actually plays and throws some touchdowns. You just want to get down and see if Ed Ogeron is, quote-unquote, honoring you by thieving the cheetah name.
He knows a good thing when he sees one. He knows good writing. There's no doubt that that's where he came from. There's no doubt. I have no doubt.
We'll get to the bottom of this.
We will. I'll get to the bottom Saturday. That's not why I'm going to the game, though.
I don't believe that either. That's exactly why.
Oh, I could care less. I've already got my place in LSU lore. I was responsible for the Miracle at Mardi Gras title. I wrote about that when Kentucky rallied from 33 points down in the second half to beat LSU. Called it the Miracle at Mardi Gras, and my colleague at the time, Mark Coombs, who wrote for the Courier-Journal in Louisville, covered the University of Kentucky, wrote about it a day later in his follow-up, and it now is in the Kentucky Media Guide, the Miracle at Mardi Gras, spawned by another great Jeff Duncan line.
I thought you were just going to pat yourself on the back for the hammer and the nail insanity with Les Miles last year.
That was 2 years ago.
Or 2 years ago, yes. 2 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
that was
hammer and the nail.
That's another one. Yeah, that's another one. That was mind-boggling to me. I'm still confused about what was going on there.
Oh, my goodness. Let's take a quick break right here on the show. But like I said, plenty going on. In about 10 or 11 minutes, we'll have Doug Thornton on from SMG. Top of the 11 o'clock hour, we'll have Chris Dabe, LSU beat writer for NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. Next segment, we'll hear from Cam Jordan, his thoughts on the game and his thoughts on – Jeff asked him about his dad and if he's going to be cheering for the Saints or the Vikings, because his dad, of course, is Steve Jordan, former Pro Bowl tight end for the Vikings. And then also in the 11 o'clock hour, we'll hear from Saints right guard Larry Warford. And then also in the 11 o'clock hour, we'll do our NFL picks. And don't forget, if we've got time, we'll certainly fit you in. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved here on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Duncan Holder.
Yeah, he just picked cheat out of thin air. Yeah, that happened. Let's kick it off! Out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. After I just write about the defense looking like a bunch of cheetahs.
Text the keyword blackjack to 200-200. You'll get a text confirming entry plus iHeartRadio info, standard data, and message rates apply. That's blackjack to 200-200.
New Orleanians are passionate about local sports.
Join Corey Johnson on the neutral ground.
Maybe more so than any market in America.
So where's the storm at right now?
I think it is a super tight connection.
Sports 1280.
New Orleans.
Did you know that the average family visits 5 websites before booking a vacation rental? Don't spend hours or days going from site to site. Save time and money by visiting Tripping.com, the world's largest vacation rental search engine. Simply type in your destination, and Tripping.com shows you all available properties from the top vacation rental sites, so you can search and compare listings all in one place and choose the best vacation rental for your family. That's TRIPPING.
Hey, Dave, we'll just do the Cam Jordan interview, and then I'll set it up. We'll do the interview, talk for a second, and go to break, because we want to get Doug on pretty as close to 10:30 as we can. So,
okay.
That work?
Yeah. Oh, all right. So, you want Doug Thornton at 10:30? Y'all told me 11:30.
It was definitely geared towards this girl.
I don't know what I told you.
So I wrote this.
Good God.
For the prom season coming up. I don't know if I won Prom King because of this song, but I won.
I've said so many times of so many different things, I'm lost. I had them written down in front of me, and I still don't know what I'm doing.
Find out more at the sound.
All right, so 10:30 is Doug Thornton.
Yeah, and we'll do the Cam Jordan interview.
Where it's always been, is a New Orleans tradition. Mandina's Restaurant. Come in for some New Orleans staples. Old-style New Orleans food. Atmosphere. And some of the best seafood in the city. Always New Orleans.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Always the best.
Always
Mandina's.
Yeah, I mean, we forgot to get him like last week, but I guess we'd get him this week. Every other
And
week.
it'll be the first home
Right.
game. Yeah, I'm sure they'll have this.
That's good. I'll text
Labor Day
him.
sale through Tuesday, and all mattresses are still on sale, like Hampton and Rhodes Queen mattresses starting at $99.99, and get over 50% off a Beauty Rest Queen mattress now just $299.99.
For this game, it's better to have him on a Friday. Don't even worry about having like a beat writer break down the game.
Only
Right.
at Mattress Firm. For offer details, visit mattressfirm.com/circulars. Product offers and prices may vary by state.
And then we've got Mark Craig tomorrow, 11:30.
I've always wanted to live in a
Good.
neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine?
All right, 10 seconds.
Okay. 10 seconds.
Gotcha.
Hi, neighbor.
Mr. Rogers passed along friendship in his neighborhood, hoping we would do the same. So let's get started. Friendship. Pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at Values.com.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back to the show. Yesterday, Saints had some open locker room time, and Jeff and I were able to rap, have a good talk with Cam Jordan. Jeff was asking him some questions about his dad, who he's going to be cheering for. I asked him about the defense and also about how many different variations they have of Heoli Kikaha. He finds every way to mispronounce his name on purpose, so we've learned that from Cam Jordan. But yeah, so just to set up the first question with Cam Jordan, Jeff is asking him about who his dad's going to be cheering for. Again, he is former Pro Bowl tight end for the Minnesota Vikings, Steve Jordan. And then we'll go into some good conversation about the defense, expectations. So here's Jeff and me with Cam Jordan.
Minneapolis? Yeah. Like I said, there's probably maybe one memory I have, and it's more along the lines of looking for food instead of being cold in the stands. And I think we dropped my Uncle Kent's hot dogs or something like that. It was, there might have been another one where we were just running around the locker room. Like I said, I may have all of 5 memories. My dad retired. I think I was 4. Yeah. So maybe you can recall 5. Running through running through the locker room. I remember canned Gatorades, and I didn't see canned Gatorades for another 17 years till I got back to the league and be like, oh, this must be an NFL thing.
Now they're everywhere.
Yeah. Are they? Can you get canned Gatorades regular?
Well, they're everywhere around here.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. In the facility, in the NFL facility, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Outside world, nobody knows how sweet a Gatorade can really is. I sound like an ad if I talk about how delicious.
They're ice cold.
Right. They're so delicious.
Yeah. I know.
In an aluminum can? Come on.
I know.
General Pop needs to know about this.
Can you put too much emphasis on the first game, or is it?
Can you? I mean, that starts off your season. If we can get out to a fast start, it's going to do nothing but boost our confidence and help them around.
Because obviously, storyline going in. If you guys start off well, you guys typically play well throughout the season.
Right.
And if you don't, we've kind of.
Hey, at some point, again, it goes to every team. What was it? Maybe a Green Bay team 2 years ago, they were 0-3 and they finished, whatever it was, 11 and 5, whatever it was, and that was their personality. We don't know our personality yet. I'm not even going to say if we lose the first game because that's not an option for us. We're here to take this game by storm. At the end of the day, we want to be a locker room who's going to be tenacious on the field as a defense, and that's what we're aiming for.
Because the only time, look, you guys lost a tough one in 11, but did play great. But other than that, we've seen it's kind of snowballed, and you don't want to. I'm guessing as a team, you don't want to say, "Oh, here we go again."
Yeah, I'd like to say, 13, we were in it deep into the playoffs, and thought we were going to win against the Seattle team. That being said, it's been a couple years since we've been back to the playoffs, and I think we've got that mentality in our locker room that we got a lot of young guys at the same time. We got a lot of guys who have the same mindset that we're coming after every practice like it's a game, and every game like it's our day.
As far as that defensive front, you absorbed kind of the loss of Nick Fairley. How do you guys feel as a unit? Because it seems like you guys are pretty, pretty tight knit. You have
you lose a player like Nick Fairley, but at the same time, you have that second year leap that I'm hoping that Ranks and Onyemata have, and everybody tells you that second year transition is going to be huge, and I think they're poised for greatness this year. We come back, we pull in Alex Okafor and Kikaha, Oli Kikaha,
You love to mispronounce his name on purpose, I assume.
Kikaha, Oli. Yeah, that's my guy. But yeah, it's for sure. You got how. There's just so many.
Know them all?
No, think of. We've chopped it up in so many different ways. I heard a coach call him ha-ha. I said, no, that's not going to last. I said, that's
what you send in a text.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's not going to last.
Packers.
Yeah,
yeah, he does.
But what's his real name? His name's what? Clinton Dixon?
I don't
know. Exactly. Yeah, but either way, when you talk about the D-line and how we've been able to reinforce Tyler Davidson, of course, playing at nose, just looking super motivated this preseason. I'm excited to see where this D-line goes this year.
And just from watching practice and watching, the games, it seems you mentioned David and Sheldon right away. It seems like
they're popping up.
Yeah,
early and often.
Right.
And that's exactly what I hope we can roll into the first game.
So that's Cam Jordan, always entertaining. Sometimes goes off on a little tangent, but always good to talk to. And you could tell they have a confidence, especially in that defensive line. Without Nick Fairley, you lose him, and I feel like we've seen some good things from Rankins. I feel like we've seen some good things from David Onyemata. Like Mitchell Lavin has shown up. He's probably going to be active on game day. And then he brings up Kikaha. I think that's a big mystery. Let's see what he can bring. And I'm sure actually probably in tomorrow's show or Monday's show, we had a chance to catch up with Kikaha too, and we'll bring his thoughts to the table about him health-wise, and he's beefed up. He's probably 15 pounds heavier than maybe what he's used to playing with.
I'm sure Cam is giddy because he's looked at the tape of that Vikings offensive line, and he senses a big game because that line is shaky, even though they've fortified it. And Cam Jordan is poised for a big year.
You have been on that wagon, and he looks the part.
He looks leaner to me and quicker off the ball. And I just think he's going to have a monster year, and it's going to start on Monday night. And that's going to be critical. We talked to Zach Streif as well about their game plan on offense, and he said we've got to control the line up front. And I know that's simplistic, but it's true. The Saints have to be able to run the ball and stop the run. They don't want to get into a passing fest, as Zach said, against the Vikings defense, which is geared to stop the pass.
No doubt about it. So let's take a break right here on the show, and coming up next, great guest, Doug Thornton of SMG is going to join us right here on the show. Don't forget, top of the 11 o'clock hour, we're going to have Chris Dabe on, LSU beat writer for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Around 11:20, we'll play a short interview I had with Larry Warford, kind of along the lines of what Jeff's saying. Look, Larry Warford is very familiar with the Vikings defense. He's played them twice a year for the past, 4 years, given he was in Detroit. So he knows that unit very well. And then we'll have our NFL picks around 11:30. And your phone calls, 504-260-1280 is a number to get involved here on Sports 1280. NOLA.com and the iHeartRadio app with Dunc and Holder.
Your forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
This report is brought to you by Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Happy Thursday from the Fox 8 Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino. Mostly sunny skies are expected today with highs in the low 80s, and overnight lows will be in the 50s on the North Shore and 60s on the South Shore. We'll see similar conditions through the end of the week and into the weekend. Mid-80s for highs and overnight lows in the 50s and 60s. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino. Have a great day.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving supports victims of drunk driving,
really good.
driving, and underage drinking.
They're really good.
I forgot which day we even said.
So we do it tomorrow after the show.
Are you ready to ditch the itch this season and take your
Right after the
backyard
show.
back?
That's all I'm doing after the show.
Getting rid of will make your pests
I
go
got
away.
that'd be
J&J
good. We can just
provides
do it right
mosquito
after.
one-time
Yeah, let's
treatments
do
for
it.
special
And,
occasions or misting systems that
is
get
there a
rid
way
of
that
mosquitoes
we could-
every day,
there's no way
all
we
day
could
long.
record
Call
the
J&J
podcast
Exterminating,
here, could we?
Louisiana's largest independent pest
Well,
control
it'd have to be
firm with over
live.
55 years
There
experience.
probably is a way. I just don't want to mess with it. It probably is a way.
Instant replay.
Just
Chris Gordon.
leave your hands.
Mornings 6 to 10.
Keep your hands off.
Play that next. Play George Satellites. Don't give no lines. Keep your hands to yourself.
Take me back to that game.
No, people don't realize
there is a
but
way.
that was one of the greatest offenses
I
in the
think the only
history
thing
of
that's
the
missing
game.
I mean,
think
what we have to
in
do is take
my
the mic
years
cords
coaching,
out
the greatest,
and put
that
it
greatest
into
culture
Oh, don't
was
do
the
that.
You see what I'm saying?
toughest.
Look, all we
Of
do
course
is
I see what you're saying.
All
I
I'm plugging these two things here. sticking into
great.
that other
It gives
thing.
me headaches.
Oh, do you guys have like a?
Well, that
He's so afraid. He's so afraid.
We're talking like
literally, you probably could. Yeah.
Oh,
good. Yeah. Just undo it, stick it into the Mixler feed.
Okay.
I don't know that.
We calling Doug?
I don't even know if I was happy at that moment.
Yeah, totally.
Nice.
I got it on my wall
boy.
in Indianapolis, and it was after that game. And
Yeah, we're talking about getting Venturi on. We could get him on anytime.
I just want him to reenact Saw in the Sawdust, Jonathan Sullivan.
That would be classic. I wonder if he remembers that. He probably does.
No way.
It's terrible.
Okay, guys, are you ready for a revolution down below?
Dude, it's the
I'm
most
talking about
classic
Frigo
interview
underwear
I've
from
ever heard.
revolutionwear.com.
And Les
It's all
killed
about
it.
You sure this number's right? It's not. As soon as I dial the area code, it starts.
Don't dial the area code. Jeff
Yeah.
mistyped. It's a local
Crouch
number.
and patent Frigo zone ventilation to keep you
It happens to
cool,
me every time I put
comfortable.
504 in a
They
phone.
don't pinch.
Sorry,
They don't
Dave.
restrict.
That's
Plus,
Jeff.
you'll get some nice double takes when wearing them. Try them for yourself.
Weird fingers.
Buy Frigo online at revolutionwear.com. The revolution starts below.
Your home for Cakes Baseball. Sports 1280. New Orleans.
What I'm going to bring up has nothing to do with this song or New Orleans sports or anything. It's going to be my one time to geek out. U.S. Open. 4 women in the semifinals from the United States. Never happened before in the tournament's history. And one of them is not Serena Williams. I think that's incredible.
No, I saw Coco Vandeweghe, right? Upset #1 ranked. What's her name?
Pliskova.
Yeah, that's great for the U.S. Open and great for American tennis. We need U.S. tennis. We need it to be a force again.
Yes, it is Venus Williams versus Sloane Stephens, and then in the other semifinal, Coco Vandeweghe versus Madison Keys. It is tremendous for the U.S. Open. Tremendous.
Yeah, I'm kind of geeked a little bit about watching some of that too. The U.S. Open is an awesome event. I've always wanted to go. It's on my bucket list. Would it be awesome to go to all 4 Grand Slams?
I'd want to just go to one of them. I have never been to any of them. And it's always going to be difficult for us to get to the U.S. Open because it's always in training camp season and that sort of thing. So it's always going to be a challenge.
Which one is your favorite?
Which one is my favorite?
Of the Grand Slams, Wimbledon.
Wimbledon. It's not even close. I
would like to go to Roland Garros sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paris.
Yeah, it'd be cool. But joining us right here on Dunc and Holder is Doug Thornton of SMG, who has been a very, very busy man, as always, but even more busier than I'm sure he anticipated, having to do a great job and pull together LSU BYU. Doug, first off, appreciate you jumping on the show, and just how well do you think that game went, having LSU BYU come in town, and you guys got this game going very quickly?
Well, it couldn't have gone any better, really. It was a pretty quick turnaround. We didn't get the notice until Monday. We were in talks with the folks who were producing the game on Sunday. The Houston Texans actually have an organization called Lone Star Sports. They're the producer of the event with ESPN. But I thought, given the 4 days that we had to prepare to have 50,000 people here was pretty good. It's very hard to organize an event like that in a short period of time and sell it out. People had made plans for the weekend. It's Labor Day. But from an execution standpoint, it was flawless. If you watched it on television, you wouldn't know that you were in the Superdome. You would have thought that you were at NRG Stadium, and that was the whole intent.
Doug, I know that you all were also on a contingency list for the Dolphins-Bucks game. Was that anywhere close to happening, or was it something that was way down the priority list for the NFL?
Oh, no, it was very close. We had a number of conversations with the NFL about this upcoming weekend and relocating that game and basically doing the same thing that we did for the LSU-BYU game, and that's be a neutral. But it was very real. We had a number of conversations with them. I think in the end, Miami was going to have to give up a home game, and the fact that they are playing the Saints in London already causes them to forfeit a home game. So giving up 2 home games would have been challenging for them. They would have lost a lot of revenue. It would have been a real hardship for them. So I think it was either come here or play during their bye week, which is week 11. and I think they opted for that, even though from a football standpoint, it's probably not the best of situations because they're gonna play right through the season without a bye week.
Doug, we're talking to Doug Thornton, the president of stadiums for SMG, the company that manages the Superdome as well as a number of other stadiums, not only in the United States but all over the globe. And Doug, I know that we talked, I guess in May, about the news that the Superdome and I guess the Saints involved in a master plan to renovate the Superdome. Gensler Sports was hired out of San Francisco to produce a study on renovating the Superdome. Where does that stand, and what can you tell our listeners so far about where that could be headed?
Well, we're right in the middle of the planning process. It's something we started back almost a year ago as we were thinking about the next iteration of Superdome improvements. But we're right in the middle of the process. We're hoping to finish the master plan study by December with an eye towards maybe moving forward with some preliminary design work perhaps as early as the spring. The goal here is to extend the life of the Superdome. As we step back and analyze it, we believe that this is the best site. The Saints are in favor of this site. The Saints are not in favor of building a new stadium anywhere in this area. So we all believe that the Superdome can be preserved. Think of it as a Lambeau of the South. Think of it as Soldier Field. You know, Soldier Field was renovated back in the early 2000s, and they preserved the historic nature of Soldier Field, the colonnades. If you guys have been there, you've seen it. They basically put a new stadium inside the old shell. Well, we've spent over $350 million here since 2005 when this building was renovated after Katrina. But we're now approaching the 43rd year of the Superdome's life, and these facilities have usually a useful life of about 30 years. So if you think about it, we're 12 years removed from Katrina, which means that we're about to approach the halfway point of the second life cycle of the dome. So in order to preserve it and extend its useful life, we're going to have to put more money into it. And we believe that there's a way to do that and sort of re-engineer it so that it can last for another 20 or 25 years. And it's, you know, these buildings, we've said it before, they're just glass and steel and concrete. And if you can keep the systems, upgraded and the technology upgraded, that will go a long way towards preserving the useful life. But along the way, we need to adapt to the architectural trends and what's going on around the nation, around the world in stadium design. So this master plan that we're doing is actually encompassing all of those things, and it's a chance for us to relook at the Superdome. And I thought that Trey Trahan, who's one of our architects, said it best. He said, we need to approach this with the same enthusiasm that we did back that the early leaders, Dave Dixon and John McKithen, approached the Superdome's original construction back in the early 70s. If you think about it, to build a new stadium on this site would probably cost $1.6 to $1.8 billion or more. We think that we can re-engineer this building and continue to preserve its life and make it a completely modern stadium for a fraction of that cost. Probably somewhere in the $400 to $500 million, maybe $600 million range over a period of time. It wouldn't all be done at once, but maybe over a 3 or 4 or 5 year period of time. Now, having said that, there's a window that we have between the college football playoff in 2020 and the Final Four of 22, where we can probably do a lot of this work, at least the first phase of it, and then perhaps come back and do more later. But the notion here is the premise is everybody believes that the Superdome is capable of being the stadium of the future, number one. Number two, there's no appetite for building a new stadium and replacing this one. It would be cost prohibitive. And number three, we now have, I think, an idea of how this can be done. It's a matter of finding the financing for it, and the team is willing to help us along the way, as they have recent past by putting up $25 million, for the new video board. So I know that's a long way to your question, but I think we have an opportunity to extend the life of the dome.
Doug, we like long-winded answers because they're full of details, so we'll take them anytime you want to give them to us. Doug Thornton of SMG joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Doug, what is on the wish list that you would like to see done, and maybe some of the things that you feel like phase one, phase two, what's on the wish list?
Well, we just had a meeting yesterday, a second workshop with our designers, with Gensler, Trahan, and our architectural team. And the people that are participating in this, of course, are the Saints, SMG, members of the LSED, oversees the district here. And we're looking at everything, both the exterior and interior. So I'll start with the exterior. I think what we'd like to do is create an area around the facility that would be more inviting to our guests. If you think about Gate A, it's you've got the ramps there. They've been there since the 70s. How do we make that more inviting? How do we take advantage of the real estate that we have on this campus, 52 acres? Could we figure out a way to activate some development here? Perhaps there is a retail, residential, maybe a hotel that could generate revenue for the district that could help pay for some of this. So parking garages, the way people arrive at these stadiums today is different than in the past. So is there a need for 4 elevated parking decks, or can we eliminate perhaps 2 of those and open up an area between, say, the Hyatt Regency, Champion Square, and the Dome at grade level? So we're talking about a lot of changes to the exterior. The exterior skin. Is there a way that we can open it up to where natural light can come in along the sides, similar to what we've done in the club lounges, without changing the look of the building from the outside, so it still reads like that monolithic, gold skin color. If you guys have walked through the club lounges, you know that we have these louvers over the windows, so at night, you can, if the lights are on, you can see right through those windows, but during the day you're able to see out. But when you're during the day, you look at the building and it reads as though, from the exterior, as if it's part of the exterior skin. On the inside of the building, we're talking about changing the seating configuration in the lower bowl. We're talking about adding more premium seating. I know we just went through this with our bunker suites and bunker clubs, which have been very popular, but modifying those to some degree, possibly moving, some of the space allocations around, the locker rooms, the commissary. These are things that people don't ever see, but creating more space, on the event level. Creating perhaps some new entrances into the building that would be spectacular, removing the ramps. The ramp system here occupies about 40,000 square feet on both the east and west side. We think you could remove those ramps and create a huge volume of space between the existing plaza at every level, the first level when you walk in, but also on the suite level and the 500 level, all the way to the skin. And that would give you an enormous amount of space to add more concession offerings, food courts, premium seating. We're talking about creating some social standing room decks. If you're familiar with what Jacksonville has done, what Levi's Stadium has done, AT&T Stadium has done, each of those facilities have gathering places for folks that don't necessarily want to sit down. They just want to hang out. It's standing room only, but they're called social decks. And we find that people today, when they go to a football game, many of them don't want to sit in a single seat and just watch the game. They want to hang out with their friends, mostly the young crowd.
Doug, I saw some of that in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. They have a huge open area, sort of like, I guess, Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, right, where you can socialize in the end zone and you don't have to sit in your seat at all.
There are a lot of things like that, Jeff, that are going on around the league. We're finding that the trends in watching the game or consuming the product is different today than it was, say, 10 years ago, and it's going to change probably in the next 5 years. A lot of that has to do with social media. A lot of it has to do with the younger crowd not having an attention span, to watch a football game and sit down in a seat. They would rather hang out in a social setting with their friends and literally watch the game on the big screen. That's why the big screens are so nice. The other thing that's kind of interesting, and this is not something we're proposing, but it's something that I've seen at least considered in other markets, is dynamic seating. So imagine going to a game, and you buy a seat, and you can now experience the game from, say, 3 or 4 different locations. If I had a club seat, for example, that was in the loge level, but I also could rotate with my friend who has a seat in the lower plaza level, and maybe I could spend the third and fourth quarter in a suite or on that social deck. You could possibly figure out a way. These are experimental things that people are thinking about going forward. You could figure out a way to maybe buy a ticket but experience the game from different angles. Maybe it's a field box. We're talking about possibly putting field boxes in the north end zone. You've seen those in different stadiums, AT&T, U.S. Bank, where the Saints will play next weekend. Also at the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, they have field boxes. So there are a lot of things that are going on, trends that are going on in the industry that we're looking at. And I think architecturally, what we've seen so far from Gensler and Trahan has been pretty impressive. We got a long way to go. We've got to just coming up with the ideas is part of it. Creating the ideas is great, but then you've got to make it work financially. You've got to make it work logistically. You got to be able to construct it in an off season. So there's a lot of detail that goes into this, but I think we're all pretty excited about it, and think that there's a way that we can extend the life.
Great stuff. Hey, we appreciate you jumping on the show, giving us such details. And look, congrats on being able to pull off LSU and BYU. That was tremendous, and I know that's just what we do here, and you're a big part of that. So appreciate it, and thanks for making that happen.
You bet. We got a great staff here, guys. You know that, and they didn't hesitate to step in and help the folks in Texas when the need arose. So we were happy to be able to do it.
Good deal. All right, Doug Thornton of SMG, right, appreciate you jumping on the show. Great stuff. If you missed any of this interview, Doug laid out some great stuff. We'll have it up on podcast after the show, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, iTunes, NOLA.com, SoundCloud, and on our YouTube live stream with NOLA.com as well. So we'll take a break and have a short segment, final segment here, and then we will have Chris Dabe, top of the 11 o'clock hour, LSU beat writer for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Here on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
If you want, we could come back and just talk real quick about it.
Action packed.
He's at the 5, comes back in. He's in the end zone. Go on. He's got it in the end zone.
All right, well, this works out. It's a really short break.
Okay.
We got about a minute 30.
Cool.
Okay. I forgot half the stuff. Tulane
Well,
Navy.
I think
this
the most
Saturday from
interesting thing,
Annapolis.
which I've heard a lot about. A lot of that
Coverage
stuff.
begins at 1:30 on your home for the wave.
Inside.
Yeah.
You know those ramps that go up?
1280
They are a
New
waste of
Orleans.
space if you think about it. Who else has those?
Metallica here. This is
you have
Lars.
ramps,
It's
but not
iHeartRadio. Hey, we're Cedar. Stay connected with all our music through the
Inside.
iHeartRadio app. Open
Right.
up the free iHeartRadio app right now and type in your favorite artist name to make a custom station based on all their biggest
Someone
hits.
spills a drink on there and
This
just
is
wipe
Dave Brown
out.
from the Foo Fighters.
Green Day.
All your favorite
they had to
music,
put down
all
all
your
that
favorite
number, but-
stations, all free.
Download our free iHeartRadio app or listen online at iHeartRadio.
Larry worried about getting drunk and wiping out.
Getting wasted.
No, someone pours a beer in the ground.
When you were
Someone
talking
pours a
about
beer in the
LSU,
ground and you
I was
wipe out.
like, yeah, I was going to say, like, yeah, I'm sure you're a legend.
Who's wiping out?
Who's wiping out?
location was definitely.
My mom
geared
found the
towards girls.
construction
She was
talk
so
interesting.
dope.
She
I
just
wrote the
texted
song
me.
kind
Right.
of as like a
No, I mean
handful of
he's just
pieces
long-winded,
coming
but
up. I don't know if I wouldn't
he's
probably
got so
be
much
because of
information.
the
Right.
song,
We should
but
probably
I
get
One
someone
Farm
to
King
like
was
listen
super
to it and
awesome.
write.
It's
No, somebody
everything
should write
you
about
said,
that because it's
how
a.
many people
So I talked to
can
Mark
connect
yesterday
with a
about
song like that.
this.
Find out more
And he's
at
gonna get.
soundtrap.com.
Hurricane Harvey has left
All right, 10 seconds.
Gulf Coast with thousands homeless and businesses in rubble. It will take years to recover and rebuild. Consider making a tax-deductible donation to the Salvation Army. 1-800-SAL-ARMY.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280. New York.
Got about 4 minutes.
Great conversation with Doug Thornton of SMG. And Jeff, it sounded pretty serious that New Orleans and the Superdome were willing to open up their arms again and host another game, but Tampa Bay and the Dolphins, the NFL, and I'm sure the teams involved decided to go in a different direction. But from what Doug said, it was very serious that we could have had another game here, and they would have been able to pull it off again.
Yeah, I think that it was a little more serious than I originally thought, but I think the concerns were valid that Miami could not afford to lose 2 home games. Now if the league did not have the luxury of putting this game in Week 11, where both teams just happen to have the same bye week, then I think it would have been likely they would have played the game on a neutral site because it would have been less problematic than trying to move the schedule around. But in this case, both teams have an open date. Makes perfect sense to move the game to Week 11. But I tell you, some of the stuff that Doug talked about that's in the planning phase right now for the Superdome, fans should be excited about that. I mean, there's a lot of exciting things, not only in the stadium itself as part of the renovation, but I think overhauling the entire campus of the Superdome is much needed. They need to open up that whole area and get rid of the 1970s look and design and make it more fan-friendly and I think more tailgate-friendly. There's just not a good tailgate area. I'd like to see some green space and open it up. You know, we've been to a bunch of stadiums in the NFL. The Superdome has to have the worst tailgate area of any stadium in the league.
And around town, you'd go in those parking lots, and those would be the tailgate areas, and it would be detached from the Superdome, and those are being eaten up by developments. So I think it's gotten worse. And look, that's not the Superdome's fault, but in and of itself, that area is not optimal for total fan enjoyment outside the stadium. You're basically hanging out under the overpass and like I-10 and like all the Pontchartrain Expressway because that's the spot where you have to go.
It's a concrete jungle down there, and they can work on that. They can add green space, some campus-like areas. But I thought it was interesting what Doug said about how fans are consuming or watching games differently now. I think that's a very valid point. You know, we've been to a bunch of the new stadiums. Jerry World in Dallas has a huge open area in the end zone, probably at like the concourse level. That's certainly the case when we go to Tampa at Raymond James Stadium. That area in the end zones, there's like a couple of bars and restaurants there, and people just hang out and watch the game. And I watched the game the other day at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. There's a huge area that people were gathering in and not sitting in their seats. I could see something like that at the Superdome with some French Quarter-style wrought iron architecture, balcony-looking thing that would kind of customize it to New Orleans. It'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely. I think anything to update the Dome would be fantastic. And so, yeah, they've got a big project on their hands, but it sounds like they want to get it done, and they want to get it done between the National Football Championship game for college football and the Final Four. So we'll see what happens.
Got to find the money. That's
Absolutely.
the key.
Got to find the money. So I want to thank Doug Thornton for jumping on the show. Top of the 11 o'clock hour, Chris Dave, LSU beat writer for NOLA.com, and the Times-Picayune coming up pretty shortly here on Sports 1280. NOLA.com and the iHeartRadio app here at our NOLA.com Times-Picayune CEOs.
Seconds.
Downtown, foot of Canal Street. We're Dunc and Holder.
Hi, this is Jennifer Coolidge. The American Heart Association says the disco song "Staying Alive" is the near perfect beat for hands.
All right, so we got Dave at the top of the hour.
See a teener adult collapse from cardiac arrest.
We're doing Dave right at the top of the hour, right?
One, push hard and fast. in the center of the chest to the beat of the song Staying Alive.
It's 8
This
minutes.
goes back
I'll
into
listen to it.
saving
Might be something good.
lives. To learn more, go
I
to
like getting kind of newsy, you know? Like yesterday with Peyton, that was good.
Nationally supported by the WellPoint Foundation.
Did you know
I'll run a
22
couple minutes.
Americans die each day waiting for organ transplants, most of them for kidneys? The good news is that MatchingDonors.com is helping to change that. MatchingDonors.com is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that links organ donors with people in desperate need of kidneys and other transplants. And now you don't need to donate a kidney to save a life. You can donate your boat, car, or real estate, with 100% of the proceeds going to help save the lives of people needing organ transplants. Visit MatchingDonors.com or call 800-385-0422.
WODT WNOE FM HD2 New Orleans. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app. Search Sports 1280. Fox Sports trending now.
Time to get things running in the National Football League with the regular season underway tonight. Week 1 begins with Kansas City at New England. Cleveland Browns are getting ready for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they'll be without first-round pick Myles Garrett for Week 1 after he suffered a high ankle sprain during practice. The team will need to reevaluate him in a couple of weeks. Meanwhile, in Buffalo, Bills tailback LaShawn McCoy missed practice today because of an illness. Sebastian Janikowski lowered his salary by $1 million to stay with the Oakland Raiders. Falcons center Alex Mack restructured his contract, at least for the $1 million base salary he is owed, turning it into a signing bonus. Arizona Cardinals wide receiver John Brown ready to go Week 1 despite a quad injury during camp. And New York Post is reporting Odell Beckham won't rule out playing Sunday Night Football despite the bad ankle. I'm David Gascon.
Hi, I want to talk to you about IRS tax debt. If you owe money to the IRS, you're not alone. Millions of Americans owe money to the IRS. When the IRS comes to collect,
All right, we got Chris.
Penalties and interest to your balance. They also have the authority to garnish your wages and or levy your bank accounts. It's best to have someone on your side to help battle the IRS. For years, Oxford Tax Partners has helped people just like you. If you owe more than $5,000 to the IRS or have multiple years of unfiled tax returns, call Oxford Tax Partners today at 1-866-700-1818 for a free and confidential consultation. That's 1-866-700-1818. Oxford Tax's fees are reasonable, and they will only bring you on if they are able to achieve real savings on your IRS tax debts. So what do you have to lose? Call Oxford Tax Partners today at 1-866-700-1818 for your free and confidential consultation. Learn how Oxford Tax can help you put your IRS tax debt behind you once and for all. That's 1-866-700-1818. 1-866-700-1818.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. I want to be a warm place on a cold day. Football I want to be a bike that races around the country. I want to be a bench on a forest trail. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
James from Metallica here.
This is Lars.
It's iHeartRadio.
Hey, we're Cedar. Stay connected with all our music through the iHeartRadio app.
Open up the free iHeartRadio app right now and type your favorite artist name to make a custom station based on all their biggest hits.
Free!
This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters.
We're Green Day.
All your favorite music, all your favorite stations, all free.
Download our free iHeartRadio app or listen online at iHeartRadio.com.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. Yep, bugs in Louisiana are serious business. I want an experienced professional to protect my home and family. So I trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 50 years. We earn the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. And we stand behind our guarantee of 100% satisfaction. Your home is probably your largest investment. You want to shield it from termites, roaches, ants, mosquitoes, and other pests. J&J Exterminating is Louisiana's largest independently owned pest control company. Our technicians are licensed, state certified, and we know what works in Louisiana's climate. Protect your home. Get the Shield.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating.
Yeah.
1 minute, ladies.
Tree Children and Family Services
Lovely.
Golf Tournament. It's September 25th at the Chateau Golf and Country Club in Kenner. Foursomes are still available. It'll be a great day with all proceeds benefiting Raintree and its mission of helping children find foster homes and assisting kids with developmental delays. Find out more. Go to raintreeservices.org. A message from Sports 1280 Communities, helping to make a difference in New Orleans.
That's good. Him talking about AP and then his relationship.
Okay, guys, are you ready for a revolution? Down below,
And he can cut
I'm
it
talking
up
about
whenever, but I'll give
Frigo
him a
underwear
timestamp.
from revolutionwear.com. It's all about comfort and looking great. Revolutionwear totally reimagined men's underwear. It's the only brand to feature a mesh pouch and patented Frigo Zone ventilation to keep you cool, dry, and comfortable. They don't pinch, pull, or restrict.
10 seconds.
Get some nice double takes when wearing them. Try them for yourself. Buy Frigo online at revolutionwear.com. The revolution starts below.
Hour number 2 of Dunc and Holder here on a Thursday, September 7th. Had Doug Thornton on from SMG talking about potential stadium renovations for the Superdome. Great conversation with Doug, and that the Saints, but the Superdome was razor thin close to hosting Miami and Tampa Bay. So if you missed any of that conversation, sports1280.com. NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube. You can catch all that great interview after the show is over. And now, joining us from Baton Rouge, Chris Dabe, LSU beat writer from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. And I know Jeff only has one thing in mind. He is essentially accusing Ed Orgeron of swiping without attribution his new defense, which he likes to call cheetah, and Jeff is taking claim of that. Chris, do you have any update on that dilemma? Because it's by far the biggest dilemma going on in sports in this country as we speak.
I actually don't know about Jeff's claim to have to have created this cheetah defense, or what is it?
Just the name, I think. Because obviously he's not creating a scheme. That would be a disaster.
Okay. Well, I'm not really sure what to say about that, but yeah, that kind of the defensive look that Ed Orgeron and the defensive coaches are looking forward to having on the field when Arden Key is back. We saw a little bit of it Saturday against BYU with these 2 defensive linemen and then 4 linebackers. The idea is to get as much speed on the field as possible. They did it primarily on third downs. And with the starting unit out there, 9 of those third down scenarios, they didn't give up a first down in 8 of them. And Corey Thompson got a couple of sacks. And once Arden Key gets out there, I think they're looking at having Arden Key and Caleb on Chasen on each side of the line and trying to wreak some havoc.
Yeah, Chris, I tell you, this could be a scary defense. That performance on Saturday against Brigham Young, I think we all thought LSU would win that game, but the utter dominance that they exemplified in that game and how they controlled both lines of scrimmage was impressive. And I think the fact that it occurred without Arden Key, arguably one of the 2 or 3 best defensive players in the country, that's got to be pause for concern for the rest of the SEC with what Dave Aranda is going to be capable of doing once he gets all these troops back in the next week or 2.
Yeah, I would think. And then they didn't have Donnie Alexander out there or Kevin Tolliver as well. Their cornerback, and Donnie Alexander, their middle linebacker, because of apparent suspension. So when they come back and Ed Orgeron says they have to earn their starting spots again, we'll see what that really means Saturday against Chattanooga. But I think you're right. They really that defense really did show something. They didn't let BYU get past the 50. And I thought BYU would be a little more physical. I mean, a lot of us kind of going into the game talked about BYU just being older because, with the 2-year Mormon missions that many of those players go on, so they're just physically more mature, physically older. And LSU just had no trouble with them. They dominated on the offensive line, and then that speed you saw on defense all over the place, especially right at the start, that first opening series for BYU, and all those freshmen making plays. I think the first 6 tackles, 5 of them were by those true freshmen.
Chris Dabe, LSU beat writer for NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Chris, significant practice news yesterday. Arden Key, non-contact jersey is no longer on his back. What's the latest with him? When do we expect him to play?
I don't think it'll be this week. My guess would be the first time would be the next week against Mississippi State in the SEC opener. Ed Ogeron said on his radio show last night, which is the only opportunity we've had to hear from him since seeing Arden Key in his regular practice jersey, saying that he isn't cleared to play yet, but evidently he's been cleared to do something, because he went from that gold non-contact jersey that we saw him in the day before to the regular purple jersey. And on Tuesday at that gold jersey, I mean, he was doing some more activity than we had seen in our brief 10-minute window that we're allowed to watch practice. He was actually going up against some other scout team guys and doing some football maneuvers that I got video of and put up on our website. And then yesterday, and prior to that practice, Ogeron had said he wants to have Arden Key do more in practice to see what he can do and how he responds. And evidently he responded well, because as we all saw yesterday, he no longer had that non-contact jersey. But my guess is first game at the soonest would be that SEC opener against Mississippi State.
Talking to Chris Dabe, LSU beat writer for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Chris, what's your take on the opening game? There was so much speculation and conjecture about Matt Canada's offense and what we were going to see. I think there was a great expectation in the fan base that this was going to be some crazy bells and whistles offensive system. And what we saw looked, frankly, a lot like what we'd seen before. Do you think that was just by design, that they felt they had an advantage in the trenches and with Darius Geis against BYU, and that this thing is going to evolve and maybe change week to week depending upon the game plan?
Yeah, I think there will be a lot of evolving as the weeks go on, and certainly if you look at the stats, 57 carries, it didn't look a lot different than maybe what we've seen in the past with LSU and relying on the run game and being dominant in that way. But they were kind of taking what BYU was giving them. Danny Etling talked about it, and them playing a lot of zone, 2 high safeties, really invited them to run the ball as much as they did. And when you're averaging 6 yards a carry, I mean, why not run the ball if that's what's working for you? And Matt Canada has said it many times. If the play works, he's just going to do it again. He's going to do it again and again until they stop it, rather than trying to overthink it and think, oh, well, next time the defense is going to do this thing different, so I got to change what we're doing. I think that's the kind of thing. It works. They're just going to keep doing it. I think we saw it in a couple of the third down conversions in that first scoring drive, 3rd and 8, both times, a little out pass to Derek Dillon. Looked like the exact same play. And I even asked Danny Etling, was that the same play? Was that the identical play? And he said, not really. There were some differences, but I'm not going to claim to be a film expert, but it looked like the same route and the same pass and put in the same spot. And then I think we saw a little bit of that too down inside the 10. And they had some red zone struggles, but they ran 8 plays out of the same formation. It was kind of a bunch formation, 3 tight ends, 2 running backs. One of the running backs, Bill Williams, up on the line next to one of the tight ends. Same formation, same personnel, same guy in motion, and they ran 4 different plays out of it. They had a play-action pass, they had handoff to Geis, they had a jet sweep to Bill Williams, and they had a jet sweep to J.D. Moore. And so I think we're going to see a lot of that kind of evolution where things look the same, but there's going to be differences.
Chris, Danny Etling played great, so this lends the question. We want Miles Brennan. Is he going to play on Saturday against Chattanooga? We've got to see him.
If the point spread is wide enough, I'm guessing you will. I think they want to get him as much work as possible. And there's so much focus on Miles Brennan. Ed Ogeron seems to kind of try to remind himself to mention Lowell Narcisse as well, maybe get him in there. But certainly Danny Etling will be the guy in there up until they feel like they can safely put someone else in there. And We saw Miles Brennan for that final series on Saturday. He completed one pass, his only attempt, and Ed Orgeron even mentioned on Tuesday at his luncheon. Within that play, Miles Brennan did a nice job with a read on the linebacker to kind of go to that dump-off option that Clyde Edwards-Hilaire. So it seems like everything Miles Brennan does, Ed Orgeron kind of finds a way to sort of rave about it. He said there were some of those scrimmages in the preseason where he was one of the best players on the field, and that seems to speak a lot to what they think of Miles Brennan. So I'm going to guess you're going to see him out there if LSU takes care of business like we kind of expect they would against Chattanooga.
Chris, speaking of, what do we know about Chattanooga? I know they lost their opener, was it to Jacksonville State, 27-13. That does not bode well for them coming into Tiger Stadium, I would think.
No, I mean, they're a top 20 ranked FCS program, and Jacksonville State, I think, is ranked number 5 in the FCS, so take that for what you will. I know sometimes some of those top FCS teams can go and upset some of the Power 5 schools, and we've seen that in recent years, but I certainly wouldn't expect that to happen here. Their quarterback, Nick Keano, is a transfer from Mississippi State. He's the starting quarterback for at least the first 4 weeks. They had their all-conference kind of dual-threat quarterback suspended for the first 4 games, so that they can put them in flux going into that opener. They have new coaches, new coaching staff. That's kind of the mystery that LSU is dealing with, is what kind of offense are they going to see? Are they going to see what they saw 2 weeks ago in their game against Jacksonville State, or are they going to see more of what these coaches had at their previous schools? And so from a coaching standpoint, I think they're looking at it that way, but physically and athletically and talent-wise, it seems like LSU shouldn't have too much trouble. And, it'll be interesting to see as well. I think we've seen LSU teams in the past kind of start slowly against these kind of programs. Matt Canada seems to have the mindset of coming out full speed. Certainly, I'd expect that from the defense. So it'll be interesting to see how that game really starts out.
Chris Dabe, LSU beat writer for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. You can follow him on Twitter at CMDabe. Chris, we really appreciate the time, and I'm telling you, look out for Jeff Duncan on a rampage up in Baton Rouge Saturday night. He is determined to find out if Ed Orgeron really stole the cheetah.
As I said, Chris, I don't think he stole it. I don't think he stole it. I think he's honoring it.
He had no attribution. He needs to learn journalism ethics. No attribution equals stolen work, and we're not going to stand for it if that's the case.
We're in the day and age of aggregation. He just aggregated it.
You still got to credit it.
That's right. He should have said cheetah. Jeff Duncan says.
Exactly. Hello, or report, or something like that, or whatever. But Chris, appreciate the time as always, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Chris Dabe does a great job covering LSU for us at NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Let's take a quick break right here on the show, and when we get back, we will switch gears back to the Saints. We will hear from right guard Larry Warford, who, to me, is one of the, if not the, most important free agent acquisition, maybe outside of A.J. Klein. You might as well call him 1 and 1A, because both will be playing every snap on each side of the football. So we'll hear from Larry Warford coming up next here on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Duncan Holder.
And I got the...
Oh, nice. Okay.
I need to write
This is Josh Innes.
Let's see.
Noon until 2.
We don't have time.
I had to go run.
Yeah, shake the mouse.
Shake the mouse. Shake the mouse.
1280.
Goodbye. Love you. Bye.
New Orleans.
They might be able to.
All right, what do you guys want me to do with this Zimmer stuff?
Hi.
Did Jeff send you like any kind of?
Yeah, you want me to start it at 2:45?
I was one of those.
I don't know what Jeff sent you, honestly.
When we make breakfast.
It's the conference call.
Right. I think we're just going to cut up a couple and then play it probably last segment,
bigger,
if we're able to do that.
And healthier minds and bodies.
Because we just got it, like it happened while we're on the show.
All right, can Jeff hear me?
No, he had to go pee.
Albertsons Companies Foundation and the Entertainment.
God.
Our
Our sold out 2017
We're going to do Warford first, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
The 23rd at T-Mobile Arena.
Yeah, because we're going to do Warford, and then an 11:30 segment, we're going to do our NFL picks. So we don't need it like right this second.
Looking for more fun at the iHeartRadio Music Festival? Then download VoiceBite. The new app lets you use your voice to win prizes, interact with personalities, and share your festival experience. Stop typing and start talking. Download the VoiceBite app now.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
The IRS doesn't mess around. If they want your money, they'll take it. They can take your paycheck and bank accounts too, even threaten your home or business. And it's about to get worse. The IRS just hired an army of new tax enforcers. So, if you owe back taxes, the smartest thing you can do is call Optima Tax Relief. Optima has access to a special IRS tax assistance program called the Fresh Start Initiative. And their clients that qualify are saving thousands, even tens of thousands. One call starts the process to stop the demand letters, stop aggressive collection actions, and stop that army of new enforcers from targeting you. But
Dave
don't delay.
ask
It's
you
important
about
to act now
the
while you
sound
still
stuff.
have options. Optima is A-rated with the Better Business Bureau. Optima has
Hey,
already
Dave.
resolved
What's
over
up, bud?
$500 million of
All right, well, we only got 15 seconds.
Okay. Sorry about that.
free consultation.
Call
No, do it,
800-798-2477. That's 800-798-2477. 800-798-2477.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back, Dunc and Holder. Here at our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios at the foot of Canal Street. Jeff had a chance to catch up with Saints right guard Larry Warford, and he certainly knows the Minnesota Vikings defense very well, given he has been a starter for the Detroit Lions the past 4 years. I think he was a starter his rookie year, so I think he's been a starter for as long as he's been in the league, and so he knows exactly what they're going to be facing, and it's going to be a stout defensive line that they're going to have their hands full with.
Yeah, Larry Warford, you're right. Kind of an under-the-radar signing. I know they signed him for a lot of money, but not a lot of people talking about that. It's not sexy to sign a guard, maybe the least sexy position in all of football, but he's a quality addition and a quality guy. I could see where he's going to end up, maybe if Zach Strief moves on after this year, I could see where Warford, along with Max Unger, will be part of the leadership core of that offense because he's a veteran guy. He's got skins on the wall. And I think probably a guy that's right on the verge of potentially making a Pro Bowl here in the future.
Well, if you're an offensive lineman and the offense does well, you typically get a look-see, as we've seen for many years with the Saints, getting plenty of offensive linemen into the Pro Bowl. But, yeah, let's hear what Larry Warford had to say about going up against the Vikings and being able to play alongside Max Unger, who seems like he'll be ready to go for week one. So here's Larry Warford.
It's maybe a little overplayed, but as far as, when you face a common opponent, you're, I'm sure, familiar with the Vikings. How much does that help you? How much does that help, getting your guys ready for a game like this, considering you've played this defense a bunch in your career?
It's just, it's good that, I'm really familiar with them. I have, my knowledge of this team and the players specifically. And I know, what's worked and what hasn't worked from a personal standpoint. From my personal play, how to go about doing certain things with them and be able to share that with, my guys. It's valuable knowledge. And, it only helps us,
Playing with Max. You haven't done it much.
Yeah, I know.
How has that been so far? And do you think it's going to take a little bit of time? Because, like I said, you guys, have y'all even played like a full padded game snap yet together? I don't think so, right? Yeah, because you didn't play in the last game. That's right.
So with Max, with any player, it takes a little bit to get used to knowing where they're going to be and how they're going to do things and how they see certain things. Sure. With Max, so far it's going well. He's a very experienced vet, really good center. Been a good center for a while, and to be able to, get his insight on certain things, I'm learning now, and I can share how I see things, and to build that chemistry between us, it's obviously going to take time, but with him, he makes it easy, because he's so experienced, and he makes it easy for me. So I'm looking forward to it.
What are the challenges that the Vikings present up front? I know like Danielle Hunter, and then I know Everson Griffin, but inside as well.
With the Vikings, just overall, their defense is very solid. They play. They don't try to. Nobody's trying to make like every play. Everybody plays their assignment, and they do it really, really well. And individually, there's not a guy that's slacking in there. There's not a guy that's slacking in there, and they're all very, very solid players, and they work really well together. So just that cohesion that they have and that trust that they have in each other, it makes it difficult for offenses, to get things going, and they make it difficult on guys. So we have to be just as sound and be just as physical as those guys. And it's gonna be a battle. So it's a good test.
I know the stats last year, as far as the Saints running the football, they were really successful running to the right side. You're on the right side. I know they've run a lot on the right side in preseason, whether you're in there or not. I mean, how much do you anticipate them kind of leaning on you and leaning on Zach on that right side to kind of make that, because it's been successful in the past?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not, if they call something, we have to haul it. It's no matter what, if they're leaning on
20 seconds,
whatever the play is, we have to do our job. That's what they pay us for. But I think it's going to be a collective effort as opposed to just being me and Zach and
10.
So, but they call the play. We have to get it done. So that's the only option. So.
There you go.
Jeff, the stats of the way the Saints run the football, it is, you look at last year's stats, and they loved running to the right side. They were highly successful. I'll just put it into perspective from last year. And look, this was Zach Strief and Jari Evans, and you had 67 run plays run behind the right guard, 67 run plays run behind the right tackle. It was the sixth most in the NFL behind the right guard, and it was the most run behind the right tackle last year. And that's where they found their success. And they averaged, when running behind a right guard, 5.39 yards a carry. That was third in the NFL last year. And running behind the right tackle, 6.36 yards a carry, and that was third in the NFL as well. And also, in the preseason, the Saints ran the second most times behind a right tackle and the fourth most in the NFL behind a right guard. They are going to run right, and more right.
Right-handed team. A lot of teams in the league are like that. I think the Saints are probably just playing to their strength. Zach Strief's a very good run-blocking right tackle. Jari Evans and Larry Warford both are good at run-blocking as right guards. And the fact that you don't have Taron Armstead for most of this body of work that you're studying there makes sense to go right. But I agree with you. I think they'd do that anyway, even if Armstead was on the team.
You think they would? Do you think they'd run right anyway, even if Armstead was there?
I think they would still run more to the right, but I think they'd be a little more balanced. I think right now Sean Payton's not dumb. He knows his strength is going to go to the right side. But so do opposing defenses. They look at those tendencies, and they certainly I think actually the Saints do a good job of running to both sides. They're just, like you said, more successful going right.
Well, when you led the NFL running behind right tackle last year, and it's not like the Saints are known for being this run-first team, and they still ran the most in the NFL behind right tackle. I think that just shows you, and it shows you the confidence they still have in Zach Strief. So, but yeah, I do think though it's going to be important to see how everyone along the offensive line kind of re-energizes, but kind of reacclimates themselves with Max Unger, because none of these guys have played with him, at least in live action, since last year. And Larry Warford has never played with him, and he's right next to the guy.
I think Saints fans need to be prepared for some hiccups early on with this offensive line. As talented as it is, you make a great point. They haven't played a lot together. Ryan Ramczyk was in and out of the lineup. He's a rookie playing in a very hostile environment for the first time. He's going to get attacked by the Minnesota defense and Mike Zimmer. And Unger and Warford haven't played together. There's going to be some growing pains with this offensive line, especially on Monday night.
Absolutely. So why don't we take a break right here on the show, and when we get back, our first week of NFL pick'ems against the spread. Jeff is fired up. Clyde is already depressed that he thinks we forgot that segment even existed.
I really wish it did.
But he's gonna be fired up when the college pick'em segment comes back tomorrow.
Can't wait.
See, exactly, Clyde. He's over there just being mischievous.
Yep, and nobody can see me, so it's even better.
Exactly. So we'll have an NFL Pick'em segment coming up here next on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app with Dunc and Holder.
I've only got a drop of Red Bull left.
Your forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Okay, Dave, you there? I'm sorry about that late curveball on the Zimmer thing.
Yeah, you freaking guys.
Ready to enjoy some.
Did I confuse you with the timestamp and the?
No. I just want to make sure that I'm playing the right damn thing.
Okay, I got you.
All right, let's see. It's the question with them basically asking about Adrian Peterson and a personnel move or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're going to set up that question, and we're going all the way up till in the morning hours. Talking about, hold on.
Someone asked for cheerleaders already on the YouTube stream, so.
Like, he said something about we have a good relationship.
Yeah, exactly. He's talking about Sean Payton. The reason I thought we'd just eliminate the question, it was kind of a rambling question, and he kind of...
1 in 6 seniors faces the
that was Josh Katzenstein on our staff, so I thought if we just eliminate that and go right to Zimmer, what his response is to that Adrian Peterson question.
Your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Sounds good. It's just one take.
Yeah, these are really good.
Yeah,
perfect. They can take your paycheck and bank accounts too. Even
Yeah.
MC Hammer in the house.
The IRS just hired an army of new tax enforcers. So, if you owe back taxes, the smartest thing you can do is call Optima Tax Relief.
We're the gambling experts. Right out the gate, though. Give me a couple minutes to put it in the system.
Yeah, we're going to do it in the last segment, David. So we're.
Oh, okay, all right.
You got time, bud.
The process to stop the demand letters, stop aggressive collection actions, and stop that army of new enforcers.
Yeah, we'll get Marcus here. How does Marcus walk in right when we're doing the gambling segment?
Hey man, that's what we're talking about right now.
It's like his gambling DNA.
Spidey sense, yes.
Yeah, it's like I can feel gambling. Okay, let me.
798-2477. That's 800-798-2477.
Costa Rican
800-798-2477.
Sponsored by Craig Carton.
Yeah.
Low blows. I got them all day, guys.
Members volunteer to protect us in the most dangerous places around the world.
Hey man,
they
it's in
step
the news.
up.
I'm just bringing it up.
And when they are severely ill or injured, returning to their families is only the beginning of their long road home. Wounded Warrior Project provides these brave men and women whatever they need to continue their fight for independence at no cost for life. So now it's time for a grateful nation to step up. Join us at findwwp.org.
Yeah.
Your teams, your Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Dunc and Holder, back at you for another half hour. Are you ready? Are you ready? Seriously.
Week 1.
Segment. Week 1.
Football tonight. NFL season starts tonight.
Well, yes, and crisis averted because there was an evil, angry screen if you had Cox Cable because WDSU got cut off the air and people were in a panic.
For a day.
But hey, look, that, when you got to fight Cox and WDSU, look, that was almost the crisis. You would not be able to see the game.
What happened? I don't even know what you're talking about.
You know how they were off the air. They cut them off. They had like a white screen, basically.
Cox Communications took WDSU off the air in a carriage dispute.
When?
Like a day ago.
Where was I?
You must not watch like The Apprentice or anything.
No, I don't. I have no idea.
Well, that answers that.
Didn't factor into my life at all.
Or
so
like
we're back on the air?
American Ninja Warrior. You don't watch that.
But this would have been the case. This game tonight is it on NBC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thursday night.
So it's back on. That's all I care about.
Yeah, it's back on.
Okay.
So
Well, that's a huge.
You would have been real mad if that carriage dispute was still going on and it still wouldn't have been
You'd
on
have
the
to
air.
go to a bar that had DirecTV.
All right. Well, look. Let's get into it. First week. Game 1 tonight. The defending Super Bowl champs going against the Kansas City Chiefs, a very underrated outfit under Andy Reid. The Patriots are 9-point favorites. Who you got?
I'm going Patriots because, hey, you never know. Pat Mahomes might be the quarterback by the end of this game, the way they're going. But I'm going Patriots with the -9. I'm taking the Super Bowl champs.
Yeah, I don't want to agree with Larry, but I have to. Patriots.
That's a bad start for you.
Yeah,
buddy.
right.
I love the Chiefs in this one.
Whoa.
+9. I love it. I'm going against
Spencer
you two.
Ware?
Jokers. Yes. The Chiefs, don't you remember a couple of years ago, was it last year, they destroyed New England on Monday Night Football and sent everybody into a panic? It was in Kansas City, though.
Look how well that ended.
All right.
And this is week 1, though. Sorry.
Moving on, the Jets at Buffalo. The Jets are 8.5-point underdogs in that game, as well they should be.
Wow. I can't believe the Bills are actually favored by that much in any game, period. So the Jets must be terrible. But I am going to go Buffalo. I just don't think the Jets. Who's their quarterback? I don't even know. Is it Hackenberry? Is it?
I think it's
McCown.
Josh McCown.
Right.
Brother of Luke, older brother of Luke, I believe.
Yeah, they don't have no one. I'm going Buffalo -8.5.
I don't trust either of these teams, to be honest. An 8 point seems like a lot, but the Jets just seem so bad. So yeah, Buffalo.
I'm taking the Jets.
Here we go.
Look, it's going to be a bad week next week. I'm telling you.
Here we go.
There's no way. You said it best, Larry. There's no way the Buffalo should be laying 8.5 to anybody. Give me the Jets. They got a good defense. That's game. They could at least hold Buffalo down a little bit. Okay, moving on. The Atlanta Falcons, the defending NFC champions, going on the road playing Ryan Pace's Chicago Bears. The Falcons, 7-point favorites.
I'm not trusting Mitch Trubisky or Mike Glennon. I'm gonna go Falcons. Well, I'm taking all the favorites.
I know you're like the.
I'm the sucker.
You're the sucker that.
I'm the sucker.
Has made. This is the reason there's high rises in downtown Los.
There's a reason why I never gamble. Period. There's a reason why. Clyde, what you got?
I play tennis. I gotta go with Larry again. Nope, don't trust the Bears. Bears, obviously, an unsettled quarterback situation. Just not the same team. Got to go Atlanta.
I'm siding with y'all, Atlanta as well. Mike Glennon will start for Chicago. I have no faith in the Bears at all. And I think Atlanta's really good. All reports we got from our national media colleagues that have been around the league at different camps said Atlanta looked loaded. So let's go with Atlanta laying the lumber. All right, Jacksonville at Houston. Houston obviously now playing for the city of Houston and all of South Texas. Very similar to the Saints back in 2006 after Hurricane Katrina. Be a very emotional game in NRG Stadium. The Texans are 6-point favorites.
And you also have to take into account that Jacksonville is going to be in a bit of flux because they don't know if they can get home. So both teams could be distracted. I will take Houston, even though I'm not the biggest Tom Savage guy. I don't know how much I trust him yet, but I don't trust Blake Bortles against the Texans. And I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of Leonard Fournette because I think they're going to get down. And so I'm going to go with the Texans, another sucker bet by me.
Same, Houston.
I'm with you guys. This is Leonard Fournette's debut. He's not on the injury report this week, so that's a good thing. So it'll be interesting to see how many times Doug Marrone rams him into that stingy front seven from the Houston Texans. Moving on, Washington Redskins in an NFC East battle right out the gate against the Philadelphia Eagles. Washington is a 1.5-point underdog at home. That's interesting.
I am taking Washington because I think they're better than the Eagles, period. So if they're a home underdog, I'm going with Washington here.
Absolutely, 100% agree. Washington.
I'm with you all on that one. Always take the home team in an even matchup like that.
Clyde, do you understand that we've picked everyone the same and we will all go up in flames?
You see what I'm doing here, right?
You just want to go down with the Titanic.
Absolutely,
with me.
and then when the college picks come around, I'm going to steamroll.
All right, Detroit Lions at home. They're 2-point underdogs against the Arizona Cardinals in Detroit. That's interesting to me as well. Home dog. That doesn't make sense to me.
I'm going to go Detroit because I don't think Arizona's that much better than Detroit. So I'm going to go Detroit, the home underdog.
Yeah, same thing. Going with Detroit. I want to.
I'm telling you, it's a boy. If
it turns out well, I cannot wait.
Clyde is following me.
If it comes out like I can't wait on Monday to be like, Clyde, you did a really good job picking all the same picks I had. Of course, no, same thing. Detroit.
We're unanimous on Detroit, home dog. I'm not a believer. I'm less a believer in Detroit than I'm less a believer in Arizona. I just don't think
Arizona's defense?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't believe in either one of these teams. I think they're both due to kind of level off this year. Okay, Oakland, a team I do believe in, on the road at Tennessee in Nashville. The Titans are 2.5-point favorites over the Raiders.
I'm going to go Tennessee because I don't think Oakland's defense is that good, and I think Tennessee. Heck, they could win the AFC South, and I think Marcus Mariota can shred Oakland's defense. You could take out Khalil Mack. I think they can neutralize him. Tennessee -2.5.
Finally, I'm going with Oakland.
A little different. No longer a sheep.
No longer.
Branches off.
Clyde the sheep.
I hope it's not a bad idea.
Oh, no, get out.
I'm
Use that mic.
I'm with Sir Lawrence on this. I'm going with the Titans at home. It's kind of a tough schedule there for the Raiders. Last year they had to open in New Orleans. They had to grind out that was a last-minute victory, and now they got to go all the way back cross-country again and open up in Tennessee. Okay, moving on. We got to go kind of quick here, I think. Baltimore at Cincinnati. Bengals 3-point favorites.
I'm going to go Baltimore with Flacco back.
Doing all right.
I'm going Baltimore.
Baltimore.
I'll take the Bengals. I'm going with the Bengals. I'm going to be contrarian there, as usual.
Yes, as usual is right.
All right, Pittsburgh Steelers sticking to the AFC North. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. We know who's favored in this one. Steelers a healthy 9-point favorite against the Cleveland Browns.
And by reports I've seen this morning, Myles Garrett's going to be out for a few weeks.
Ankle injury.
And I don't even care if he was there. I'm taking Pittsburgh.
Go Steelers.
I'm taking the Browns. I love it. I love that you guys are just laying these huge numbers. Marcus Carmouche, our sports editor in here right now, I think he would side with me on this. You don't lay huge lines in the NFL. 9 points is a big line.
Do you know who they're playing?
I don't care.
Cleveland.
The Browns know no demeanor when it comes to these types of
Cleveland.
things.
You're underestimating Deshaun Kaiser in his opener.
I am not underestimating him. The fact that he might score a point would be overestimating him.
That's fair.
Indianapolis Colts at the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are 4-point favorites. Who you got?
I'm going Indy because I don't think the Rams are any good. I don't trust Jared Goff. They don't have Aaron Donald. He's nowhere to be found. I don't care if the Colts have Jacoby Brissett comes in and plays.
Scott Tolzien is quarterbacking for Christ's sake.
It could be 6-3, and then the Colts cover. So I'm going Indy.
I'm going with the Rams on this one.
I'm with you, Clyde. I think the Rams and that defense and their home opener.
Yeah.
I think the Colts might be the first team to change coaches mid-season this year. I think.
That's fair.
I think they're in trouble. I think that whole organization's. Sean Payton used to say all the time that you wanted to be one of those healthy organizations that's always in the mix for a playoff berth, and that there's always about 10 to 15 organizations that are just swimming in circles and can't get out of their own way. I think that's a perfect description of the Indianapolis Colts.
I
right
thought
now.
for sure you were going to say Sean Payton's going to be the new Colts head coach.
Yeah,
that might happen.
I didn't say that. You did.
Stranger things.
All right, Seattle. This is a marquee matchup on Week 1. Seattle at Green Bay. Packers are 3-point favorites at Lambeau Field, the unfrozen tundra.
Packers.
Glad. Well, this is great radio here, Clyde.
Sorry, this is one of the better. Sorry. I'm going to go with Green Bay.
Okay. And I'm with you all on Green Bay. Although Seattle is a trendy pick for the Super Bowl. That could be a NFC Championship game preview right there. All right, Carolina at San Francisco. Carolina is 6-point favorites at SF.
Carolina, reluctantly Carolina.
Well, you are a bad gambler.
I'm going San Fran. Yeah.
I'm going San Fran, too. I think they're going to win the game straight up.
Who's San Francisco's quarterback?
Brian Hoyer, I believe. That's all you need to know.
All I need to know, exactly.
You know Cam Newton's 100%?
I'll take Derek Anderson then over Brian Hoyer. Look, Christian McCaffrey, he's gonna be his Stanford roots. He's gonna scorch in front of his home folks.
Sorry, he's not playing Washington State this week.
That's
I
okay.
love how Larry's talking himself into his pick as we go along here.
I said reluctantly Carolina, so obviously not a lot of confidence there.
All right, Sunday night matchup, NFC East, the New York Giants, 4-point underdogs at Dallas. Who you got?
The Giants.
Wow, a little. Finally, he doesn't take a favorite. Finally,
I'm taking non-favorites, but no, I don't. I think even though Ezekiel Elliott's going to be playing, I think the Giants, they might win the division. So I'm going with the Giants here.
Glad.
No, Sunday night at home. No, Cowboys.
I'm going with the Cowboys too. I think the Cowboys in that atmosphere will be tough to beat. But I'm with you, Larry. I think the Giants are the team to beat in the NFC East. I think Dallas is coming back to the pack. All right, moving on to the game everybody's been waiting for.
Oh, really? Why did we get to
the
last?
New Orleans Saints at the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are 3.5-point favorites at U.S. Bank Stadium, hostile territory. Who you got, Larry?
Who dat? Homerland! Saints.
Glad.
Yeah, we're not going to have a show much longer if we pick against the Saints unless it's absolutely warranted. Saints all the way.
Don't cave to pressure.
Saints go all the way. Saints go all the way.
Wow.
Don't cave.
I'm agreeing with you all, but I think the Vikings win the game, but don't quite get to the 3.5 points.
I didn't pick the Saints to win straight up. I have not made a pick yet. We'll obviously do that Monday. Well, actually, my pick will come out tomorrow.
All right, final game, Monday night. Second game of the doubleheader. LA Chargers at Denver. Broncos are 3.5-point favorites.
I'm going to go with the Chargers on this one. I still don't trust the Broncos quarterback situation. And the Chargers defense, they've got some 2 bookend pass rushers. I'm going to go Chargers.
As opposed to that direct that we watched in a preseason game a couple weeks ago, you're going to go with the Chargers on that? I don't.
Phillip Rivers didn't play.
That's true, but I mean, even him, it's going to be hard for him to throw when he can't get any protection. Denver.
I got the Broncos at home. In that atmosphere, I like Denver, but I like that KG pick by you, Larry. I like that you're taking the road.
You've been ripping me for half the times, mate. So now I'm convinced myself to pick it under.
You're wrong enough so that we'll feel better on Monday.
So I'll be about 5-11 after this week.
We're all over the board on these picks. We're going to have no consensus except on the Saints. We're all on the home team.
Absolutely. So let's take a final break right here on the show, and when we get back, we will hear from Mike Zimmer. He had a conference call with New Orleans media, and we'll hear a snippet of that and wrap up this action-packed show. So great show, and look, one more segment of glory here on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
The second annual Wine on the River is Saturday, November 11th
Wow,
at the
oui.
Aquarium Plaza. Tickets on sale now at wineontheriver.NOLA.com.
That's how bad the Browns are.
Louisiana Hospitality
Browns should be up. Start of his career.
Steelers scored what?
Not even his college coach.
Here's what happens in those games. You look at it and you go 9 points. What happens is the game's like 35-20. The Steelers are way up.
So this is going to be like
way up. They don't care and they give up a touchdown and like 2 minutes left and they cover.
Oh,
because they manage. They're just managing the
Learn
score.
how you can help improve your community.
Happens all the time.
HUD.gov/fair housing. Fair housing. Shared opportunity in every community.
Joe
Public
Hayden,
service
2
message
pick
from HUD.
sixes against his old team.
National Fair Housing Alliance.
Bet you didn't know this. Broadcast radio reaches more people in America than TV.
Right, so how many
Yeah,
bites?
AM,
So
FM radio.
one.
The radio
One,
that's
I'll say
free
that.
in your car, your kitchen, your office. Broadcast radio reaches more adults, teens, and
All right, 1 minute.
more of everyone. More shoppers. Broadcast radio reaches 93% of Americans every week. That's bigger than TV, Facebook, and Google. If you're a marketer who needs to reach new fans, visit iHeartMedia.com for the one place everyone is listening. AM/FM radio.
You're invited to the Raintree Children and Family Services Golf Tournament. It's September 25th at the Chateau Golf and Country Club in Kenner. Foursomes are still available. It'll be a great day with all proceeds benefiting Raintree and its mission of helping children find foster homes and assisting kids with developmental delays. Find out more. Go to RaintreeServices.org. A message from Sports 1280 Communities, helping to make a difference in New Orleans.
The Red Cross depends on financial donations to be able to provide disaster relief immediately. Help people affected by Hurricane Harvey by visiting redcross.org, calling 1-800-RED-CROSS, or texting the word Harvey to 90999 to make a $10 donation.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280 New Orleans.
Come on.
Welcome back. One final segment here on Dunc and Holder. And Jeff, while we were on the air, our colleagues were asking questions of one Vikings head coach, Mike Zimmer. And Sean Payton, Mike Zimmer have known each other for a long time. We know the storylines too. Adrian Peterson going up to Minnesota. And so, of course, those are the questions that Mike Zimmer is going to be facing all week. And so, Jeff, what did Mike Zimmer have to say?
Well, if you know Mike Zimmer, he's similar to Sean Payton. He detests distractions, and I think he sees the storyline of Adrian Peterson coming back to Minnesota as a massive distraction. And you can tell when he was asked about it on the conference call today, he wanted no part of that narrative or storyline. But he did visit with local reporters here in New Orleans over a conference call. And he also talked a little bit later in this segment, as you'll hear, about his relationship with Sean Payton. A little background on that. Mike Zimmer and Sean Payton were on the Dallas Cowboys coaching staff together under Bill Parcells a few years ago, so they are quite close. And as I've mentioned on the program before, Mike Zimmer's intel on Adrian Peterson actually helped the Saints sign Adrian Peterson. He gave a rousing scouting report on Adrian Peterson to Sean Payton. So let's listen to that soundbite. First question is about Adrian Peterson and what Mike Zimmer thinks of why they let him go in the offseason and moved on, and we'll listen through the whole segment.
I think all those kind of decisions are always difficult. He was a free agent, so, but, anytime that you got good players that leave, it's always difficult.
And then another one, when Peterson says he wants to stick it to his former team, how much, bulletin board material is that? Or is, that just part of his personality?
Well, I bet Drew Brees wants to stick it to us too. I don't worry about any of that stuff.
And then last one from him, how would you like to see fans greet Peterson on Monday?
Honestly, I haven't thought about it. All I care about is how they are with us, and it's really up to them how they decide to do it.
Okay. All right. Well, those are done. Now, I'm curious, when Peyton came to the Cowboys, what do you remember? I mean, first impressions working with him for the first time.
Well, he's a heck of a coach, smart. We got a chance to go against each other every day in practice. He was, I thought he was very innovative. Sean's, he hasn't changed much. That's who he is. He's a fun guy to be around, good guy. I got to know his family very well. My wife got to know his wife, and so.
Do you remember Parcells calling him Dennis the Menace?
You'd have to ask Sean about that. I'm not going to comment on that.
What's your relationship like with him now?
Good. I mean, we talk once in a while. If I have a question, I'll call him. And
10 seconds.
It's not. It's not like we're working together anymore. But we have a good relationship.
Is it?
As far as the Dennis the Menace comment, just a little background. Sean Payton was referred to by Bill Parcells as Dennis the Menace throughout his time in Dallas, and so much so that Bill Parcells named a horse after Sean Payton, calling him Menacing Dennis. And from what I understand, that horse did not do very well. So I think you should probably stick Sean Payton's name away from any racing horses. Just a small note there.
Didn't quite make it to the Kentucky Derby trail. Menacing Dennis did not.
Probably doesn't even know where Kentucky is.
Boy, Mike Zimmer was not in a great mood, was he? No. Did not want to talk about much. Very businesslike. And you can tell that this Adrian Peterson storyline, and we'll talk to Mark Craig tomorrow, a little plug for the show tomorrow, from the Star Tribune about his story about this exact subject, because it's a huge story up in Minneapolis and the Twin Cities. Adrian Peterson is arguably the biggest star ever in Minnesota. Who would you say is bigger? Fran Tarkenton? I don't know. Have they had a bigger
Kirby
star?
Puckett? Honestly, Kevin Garnett? I don't know.
Yeah, he's got to rank among the greatest.
Right.
The Drew Brees of Minneapolis. I mean, you could probably argue that Randy Moss was huge when he was up there for a while. I don't know. But Adrian Peterson is a first ballot Hall of Famer, or maybe, I don't know. I would assume he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And it's a huge storyline whether Mike Zimmer wants to address it or not.
And I'm sure at some point, either tomorrow or Friday or maybe even Saturday, Adrian Peterson's going to speak to the media. He knows it's coming, and so whenever he speaks, we'll have his reaction as well. But I think he understands, as far as Adrian does, that it's vital for the Saints to win this game. It's not vital for him to receive 30 carries, and I don't think he expects that. I think when we've heard him talk about his role with the Saints, it's realistic, and I think it's genuine when he speaks kind of in realistic terms about what he expects to be with the Saints.
Yeah, I think he's got a perfect, and Sean Payton is really good about that, spelling out what he calls the vision for a player. What he really means by that is the role they're going to play, and it's usually pretty well defined, and so the players aren't surprised. I guess Brandon Cooks got a little surprised last year when Mike Thomas emerged and he became the go deep clear out guy. He didn't like that vision. But for the most part, these guys understand week to week they may not have a big game, but then they're going to get their number called at some point in this offense.
I'm pretty sure Brandon Cooks likes the vision now in New England, where people are comparing him to Randy Moss, and now Julian Edelman's gone. Oh, he's number one with a bullet up there, besides Rob Gronkowski, and they're going to have different routes.
You're leaving out Philip Dorsett, recently acquired. He was the apple of Sean Payton's eye coming out of Miami in that draft a few years ago. Remember? He loved Philip Dorsett.
I wonder why I left him out, because he's going to be a nothing, a nobody. Who cares? And Brandon Cooks time, baby.
Can I tease your column for this weekend? Larry, do you think this is a must-win game for the Saints on Monday night?
1,000%. Maybe 1,000,000%.
Why do you believe that?
I wonder why. Because when they can't win the first game of the year, they usually stink, and that's just the way it is. And that's what I basically told Cam Jordan. They were lucky that they reversed that trend in 2011 because they lost a tough game in Green Bay, were able to turn around. But every time they lose the first game, they're 7-9. Every time outside of 11.
Except 2011. So it's not a must-win. They lost in 2011, and they had arguably the best team they've ever had.
Well, here's the thing. It's a must-win because they lose in Minnesota. They're going to lose to New England. They could lose at Carolina. Then they go to London, and then what? They could – you never know. Yeah, it's an absolute must-win.
So 15 weeks left. They should just pitch a tent. Season's over. Throw in the towel. Wave the white flag because they're 0-1.
Absolutely.
1 minute.
Yes.
1 minute.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, no reason to listen to the show anymore for the rest of the season, so just call today.
Well, if they win, then you can. If they lose, I might as well just, I should literally just have a white flag instead of my face here on the show.
I'll qualify it this
Tuesday.
way. They have to play well. If they lose a close nail-biter like they lost to the Raiders last year, that's one thing. If they go up there and get strafed and embarrassed, I might be siding with you on the show on Monday.
Flip-flop McGee over here. I'm staunch in my opinions over here on Dunc and Holder. Want to thank Doug Thornton. Want to thank Chris Dabe. Also want to thank Cam Jordan and Larry Warford for taking some time out to speak with us yesterday. Mark Craig from the Minneapolis Star Tribune's coming on tomorrow. We'll have college pick'em segments so Clyde can gloat in glory, and we will just be miserable. So, Dave, thank you back in the studios at iHeart, as we're here at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune studio. So come on back for a Friday episode of Dunc and Holder here on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeart Radio app.
You're mocking teas. What's your column about, Larry?
Nice segue.